The school garden. Chris learned from his classmates that his new school was built 10 years ago on an old farmland where cotton grew. When the farmer decided to sell it and move away, the city bought the land and built the school. 2 years ago, the school started a small garden, but most of the plants had either died or was dying. Miss Clayson told Chris's class that the principal agreed to let the class study the school garden and make recommendations for improvements. If the recommendations were accepted, the students would be allowed to plant and care for a vegetable and flower garden. They could observe the plants growing and eat the vegetables that grew. Before the class could plant anything new, however, they had to investigate why the plants in the garden grew so poorly. Miss Clayson reviewed the steps they would follow. First, they would research the garden by studying the current conditions. Next, they would form hypotheses, provide possible explanations for the problem in the garden. They would test their hypothesis by conducting investigations. They would then analyze the data they collected and draw conclusions. Finally, based on their conclusions, they would propose a garden plan for the principal to review. Every day for a week, Chris's class went into the garden to make observations about the current conditions. The first day, everyone picked up a handful of soil. It felt dry and sandy. On one side of the school, there was a yard as dry and as bare as the school garden. On the other side of the school, there was a yard with healthy green plants growing in it. Chris saw someone watering those plants one day and noticed that the soil was a different color than the soil in the school garden. He wondered if the soil color and amount of water the garden received could affect the garden's ability to grow plants. Each day that they observed that the weather was sunny and warm. They measured the temperature every day at noon and found that it averaged 21 degrees Celsius or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see this data that they collected in the table, Conditions in the School Garden, below, right here. We'll go over this in a minute. The following week, Miss Clayson reviewed the things that most plants need to grow: water, air, sunlight, and soil. She said that most plants need all four of these things. If even one were missing, it is likely that the plant can't make food for itself and survive. Air can't be the problem, thought Chris. The plants in the neighbor's garden looked healthy, and they were really close by. He noticed the sun was shining on both the school garden and the neighbor's yard, so it couldn't be the amount of sunlight. He wondered what was preventing the plants from growing. So here's comparing Fahrenheit and Celsius temperatures. Here you see water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit and 100 degrees Celsius. The average body temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius. Average room temperature is 68 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 degrees Celsius. Water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. 0 degrees Fahrenheit is minus 18 degrees Celsius. All right. He remembered the soil in the school garden was a different color than the soil on the other side of the school. He wondered what the soils were made of and how that might relate to the garden's ability to grow. One day, Chris and his friends talked to their parents about the class project. That old cotton farm used up everything in the soil, said Chris's mother. There are no nutrients left in the soil for plants to grow in the garden. His friend's mother disagreed. There's plenty of cotton growing there when it was a farm. The soil must be good. It must be something else, like the amount of water the land gets. Chris thought a garden would make his new school a better place, and besides, it might be fun to eat food that he had helped grow. He decided that he wanted to help make the garden productive. All right, so here are the conditions in the school garden that they observed. On Monday, it was 20 degrees Celsius, mostly sunny. Tuesday, 19 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy. Wednesday, 21 degrees Celsius and sunny. Thursday, 22 degrees Celsius and sunny. Friday, 23 degrees Celsius, bright and sunny. So I could say that on the average it was pretty sunny and the average temperature was 21 degrees Celsius. All right, Here is your analysis questions. Make sure you read these and understand what you're doing. Number 1 says the reading gave evidence and opinion about the garden. Complete student sheet 2.2, evidence or opinion. That's a student sheet that you picked up on your way in or should have gotten already. What is the difference between scientific evidence, and opinion? You'll answer that question in your notebook. Number 2, your aunt tells you that she gets cold when the temperature falls below 60 degrees Celsius. What does she mean? Does she mean degrees Celsius or degrees Fahrenheit? How do you know? So let me read this again. Your aunt tells you that she gets cold when the temperature falls below 60 degrees. Does she mean Celsius or degrees Fahrenheit? How do you know? Okay, so think about what we talked about in the reading there. Why do you think plants won't grow in the garden at Chris's school? Support your ideas with evidence from the reading. This question here should be 2 to 3 paragraphs. Or I'm not paragraphs, 2 to 3 sentences. Actually, 4 sentences and probably at least a paragraph long. Okay. All right.